entitled crap eats crab in aquarium store and his mom defends him. Alrighty, boys and girls, this seems super unbelievable, but when you've been working in the pet trade as a sales associate for long enough in weird areas, you start to see your fair share of entitled kids and poop-stained parents. My first of many stories, so don't be too harsh. For context, I work in a mom-and-pop pet store in the eastern US, and while my expertise is in aquatics, I try to be a jack of all the trades. The day that this happened was rather uneventful until this point. All up until Little Poop, LS, and Fricker, PF, entered the store. My store is pretty modest, so it was fairly easy to see customers come in and out, especially in the fish department. So I got my first look at this magnificent creature, a 40-something-year-old woman talking on her cell. Her hair obviously dyed blonde, an outfit practically screaming midlife crisis while her child was in tow. The kid must have been 7 or 8, the kid playing on a Switch, his shirt covered in what looked to be a mixture of pizza sauce, soda, and plenty of mystery stains. At first, things were pretty normal, the kid originally not caring about anything in the store while PF was getting enraged at him for not paying attention, though that changed rather fast. PF and LS were near their ferrets when PF took LS's Switch, immediately causing a reaction of screaming and pouting before being distracted by some of the fish over in my department. Alright, a bit of unnecessary information, but the way my fish store's department is set up is that 2/5 of it is freshwater, 2/5 is equipment, and the rest is saltwater. Given we weren't really known for saltwater, we kept pretty generic yet sought-after fish like hippotangs, various clownfish, 6-line wrasses, etc. The thing about the first two is because of Finding Nemo. Kids are always drawn into the Dories or Nemos. Alright, all that in mind, the first thing LS did was head over to the small assortment of hippotangs we had, practically pressing his poop-covered face against the glass as he yelled out "Dory" as loud as he could. PF hailed me down from the algae scrubbing, and this started the encounter. I like to act casual around the workplace as I find it lowers any sort of anxiety a customer has and makes me way more approachable. First thing out of my mouth was, "Hey there, how's your night going? Need help with something?" PF started out our encounter with a roll of the eyes before pointing to the tang and demanding a price with a simple but rude, "How much is it for this thing?" Was the way she said it that was rude. After shifting gears from a casual standing to a more professional one, I simply told her that the tang was $160. It was a good-sized tang. Of course she scoffed, but what came next was a bit worrying. PF pulled out the $30 from her purse and played it on the desk we used to bag fish, saying in an aggravating tone, "That's all you're getting, bag him." Things started to go poorly from here. It's worth noting that it was 9:15 at this point. The store was closing in 15 minutes ago, although we make it a policy not to ask customers to leave until 9:30. It was just my manager and myself at this point, my manager in the office closing down registers, so essentially it was like I was the only employee in the store. Seeing PF placing the $30 on the table, I raised an eyebrow before leaning against the wall, simply asking her, "Do you have a saltwater tank?" She didn't take this well. She screamed without a second passing, "None of your business. Now bag my fish, you cocky little poop." I simply refused and slid her $30 back towards her before she slid it back, now more pissed off. "I'm gonna get your butt fired if you don't bag my fish right now." At this, LS was getting pissed at the interaction, screaming like a banshee about how he wanted the tang, still referring to it as Dory and beginning to stomp his feet in a tantrum. Soon enough, I was asking them to leave. So this is where I should have called the cops at this point, knowing that she wasn't going to leave without a fight. LS was on the floor at this point, pounding his fist to the floor as snot dripped down on his face as PF tried to guilt to me. "Sorry, sweetie, this guy doesn't want you to have the fish. He's perfectly fine with you having no fish friend to make you happy." At this point, she turned back up to me. "Do you see what you did, you stupid You're breaking my angel's heart because you're too much of a Jew to sell me the fish." Internally, I was laughing. This kind of situation happened now again, but the anti-Semitism was a new one. I had figured everything was starting to resolve at this point, though I was mistaken. LS flipped poop. Sorry, guys. You know how some opera singers can break glass with their voice? This kid would have a knack for something like that. LS was screaming as loud as humanly possible at this point as he managed to reach into the tank. At last, my manager had made his way out of the office and was watching what was going on. LS grabbed a piece of live rock, accidentally grabbing a long-spined urchin. Angrily screaming, turned right to wails of pain as he pulled a rock out of the tank, a poor little pom-pom crab in tow. At this point, I was less focused on the kid, but more focused on making sure my manager was calling 911, which he did. When I turned around, I saw something that still gives me nightmare to this day. The kid had been clutching his hand while his mother tried to help him, something hanging out of his mouth. The poor little pom-pom crab had been crushed by the kid, LS having shoved it into his mouth and chomping down on it, leaving a little claw hanging out of his mouth. The next 2 minutes was a strange combination of astonishment and panic, myself telling the kid not to move his hands as he would break the spines of the urchin, while PF began hitting me with a crappy curse, screaming that I hurt her kid. Your kid shoved his hand into the tank, one with toxic animals nonetheless, fox-face rabbitfish, and did this to himself. Calm the down and leave him alone so when the paramedics get here, they can get the spines out. How dare you? You expect me to let my angel suffer? If you just sold me the stupid fish, this would have never happened. Your kid reached into the tank and ate a crab. What the did you teach this kid? Don't you ever tell me how to raise my angel. He had the right to eat that crab. You took something from him and he took something from you. By the end of this interaction, the paramedics had arrived, restraining the kid and taking him into an ambulance as the police tried to sort things out. Unsurprisingly, PF tried to pin everything on me, saying I threw an urchin at him. What the... And he ate the crab in a panic. Equally unsurprisingly, we had the entire thing on CCTV, including PF hitting me with her purse. Long story short, PF was arrested for aggravated assault, as apparently she had stuffed the rock into her bag to give it the extra punch. Didn't notice until after the paramedics saw me that I was bleeding on my leg from the jagged live rock. After getting a statement, the cops left, PF and LS going off to wherever the heck the cops took them, and I got out of everything with 8 stitches and a $300 bonus from my boss for handling the situation without anyone getting seriously injured. From what I ended up hearing, the kid actually got stung by the fox-face's dorsal spines, and that sent him into a blind rage. The mom got a plea deal, and she ended up with a huge fine, some jail time, and some other crap.